Hi, I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is my February reading wrap up. In the month of February, I read 20 books. I DNF'd 7 of them, so I'm going to talk about 13 today. And I had an additional 5 from a try chapter challenge that I read the chapter and DNF'd. And so technically 12 DNFs, but I'm not really counting that because I wasn't really trying to read them. They were there for the try chapter, you know what I'm saying? So as always, going in chronological order, unless it is a series, in which case I will clump them together. All right, so I started off the month of February with Dawn's Envoy, which is Aileen Travers number 4. I read 4, 5, and 6 right in a row. I read the first book in this series at the beginning of January, and then I read 2 and 3 at the end of January, and I read 4, 5, and 6 in a row. So I actually read 5 in a row, but 2 were in January and 3 were in the beginning of February. By T.A. White, one of my new favorite authors. So this one I gave 5 stars. The majority of the books in the series have gotten 4 stars from me, so a couple have gotten 5s. This is a urban fantasy paranormal romance. It's a baby vampire who doesn't know what's going on, and her family can't know about the paranormal. It's a death sentence if you tell anyone about it. And they think that she has PTSD from Afghanistan and a drinking problem, but actually it's because she's a vampire. Okay, so that does get fixed throughout the series. I feel like a lot of my frustration at the beginning of the series gets dealt with. Obviously, I finished book 6, so a lot of progress is made. So I do like the series quite a bit more as it progresses. There is some repetitiveness in the writing that obviously I did read them back to back, so that might be, more of a standout to me, but there's some repetitiveness in the writing that bugs me a little bit, but overall still very enjoyable. Not my favorite series by her, but well worth reading. Plan on reading book 7 in April. So if you like watching a serious kind of character arc, because she goes from knowing nothing and having a lot of, issues to finding a lot more acceptance and having a lot more trust in people, and having people who will have her back, and her actually being willing to ask them to do that, a lot of growth happens. Then I read Marked and Claimed by Charlotte Harper. I gave this 2 stars. This is a black throuple werewolves erotica, and there was too much plot and it was pointless. Like, the plot was not good. We're in a novella, an erotic novella. That's what you said. Why are we doing all this and doing it poorly? I might add. I didn't really enjoy the writing, and I only finished it for a readathon. Otherwise, this would have been a DNF, so it is a 2-star. It's fine. It was actually one that I saw Andrea Anderson's stories, and I love her paranormal romance so much that I was like, oh my god, yes, I need more recommendations. But sadly, this did not really do anything for me. Then I read Vengeful Lies by T.L. Smith and Kia Carrington Russell. I gave this 3 stars. This is over-the-top mafia romance. He is an alpha hole. He is very dramatic. She is an assassin, he is her target, but she was specifically paid to mess with him. So usually she would just take the shot, have no contact whatsoever with her mark, but that's not what she's being paid for. So she is messing with him and, letting him know that she's been in his apartment and things like that. And he has a little bit of a fascination with her and blackmails her by stealing her guns that are her most valuable possession, and specifically sentimental, into a marriage, because he cannot become the head of the mafia without a marriage, and he wants his parents to let him be the head of the mafia. So he's like, you have to be married to me for 4 months or whatever, and then I'll give you your guns and you can leave. So most of the book, they're not even married. Like, it's mostly their engagement. But one, the plot, nothing I haven't seen before. The big twist reveal at the end, seen it. I've seen it. It didn't really do anything for me. And then also there is a gross scene where period blood is consumed. If that is your kink, that is completely fine with me, but I will not be participating, and I did not enjoy watching it. So I was like, ugh. That did not work for me. I won't lie to you. He was very over the top with the sex scenes. He was definitely like this is why you're the only one who can keep up with my appetites. And I'm like, you're right, because it could not be me. I would not be over there keeping up with you. I'd be like, back off, Jack, we're not doing this. So, you know, it was fine for what it was. I wanted it to be a new favorite, and it really was not. Then I did the try-chapter challenge for fantasy romance, and then additionally, after the try-chapter, I continued reading a fantasy romance and DNF'd it. Then I read an arc from NetGalley of Last Chance to Save the World, which is Chaotic Orbits number 3 by Beth Revis. I gave this 5 stars. This is the final book in this trilogy of novellas, and basically she's a scavenger. She meets this guy in the government. They're kind of on diametric opposition, but kind of also still want the same things because they both actually want what's best for humanity. He just thinks that following the rules is the best way to get that, and she thinks that the rules are only going to benefit the elite and those in power, right? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But ultimately their end goal is still the same. He's a good person, she's a good person. They want to save people, they want to help people. And she's kind of like, you're so naive, but you're cute. You're cute. I would read 10 books following these characters. I absolutely loved it. It does end with a little bit of a, you know, they're not together, but they love each other and will continue to run into each other. So if that is not a satisfying ending for you, maybe this isn't worth it. But this is like my favorite types of characters, doing my favorite types of plots with banter and humor that really works for me in fun little bite-sized chunks that I would seriously read 15 of them, like no questions asked. I love it. Is it quite expensive? Yes, but that's the traditionally published issue, not the author issue, just FYI. So would I spend $15 on a 200-page ebook? No, I would not. I would absolutely be waiting for sales or the library, depending on what you have access to. But as far as it being worth the read, abso-freaking-lutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. New favorite. Loved it. Loved every single book. 5 stars all around. Is the first book maybe the best? Yes, but don't question me, okay? I like it. I like it. I want it. I enjoyed it. Then I DNF'd 2 sci-fi romances. Then I DNF'd 2 romanticies. Then I read Declan, which is Edward Brothers number 2 by Drea Anderson. I gave this 5 stars. I read this on release day. Obviously, now I have to wait till next release day for Drea Anderson. I just love her books. That's the short and long of it all wrapped up together is I love her books. I love her books, and so every time I read it, I'm like, this is amazing. I love this. I would love to have more of this. So this one, these are werewolves, and all of her shifters are kind of interconnected in the same city, so you have different areas of the city run by the different packs and the different types of shifters, and this series is the werewolves. This is the younger brother of the hero in the first book. The hero in the first book was in prison for quite a few years, and while he was in prison, his younger brother kind of made a lot of money and got them out of their situation. They had been in a group home, and then his brother had been a drug dealer and things like that. So while his brother was in prison, he had ended up making a lot of wealth. Technically legally. So when his brother got out of prison, you know, they were in a very different situation than they had been when they were younger. But you do have content warnings for abusive mother and a dead abusive husband of the heroine. And the abusive mother is on page. She's still living with her mother after her first marriage, and she has a daughter from her first marriage. Her first marriage was not really consensual. It was not good. It was a bad situation, and her trying not to be married to that man is how her father ended up killed in the first place. So her mother hates her because of that, like hates. And I was a little bit like, girl, your mom does not like you. Like, we need to accept that. But I understand that's not reality for everyone. Not everything is linear, but I did have slight frustration with that because I was like, you need to catch on that this is not a safe space. As always, My favorite part of this book by Drew Anderson, because she does this so exceptionally well, is alphas who love everybody in their circle. They are so loving and caring and protective of their significant other, of their children, but also of their brothers, of their cousins, of their dad, of their sister. And I love that they are not afraid to show affection to other men. I really appreciate that so much. But they are affectionate and protective of everyone in their circle. You are their sister-in-law, you know, they are in your corner. And I just absolutely love the way that she does that. I think that it makes their alpha-ness, and obviously they're paranormal shifters, so alpha makes sense, but their alpha-ness so much more palatable. Like, it really works because they are not toxic with it. They are loving and affectionate, but they are also willing to do anything and everything to protect you, to provide for you, to get their way. Like, they're not pushovers, but that doesn't mean that they're afraid to show their emotions. And I love it. I love it so much. It's literally my favorite thing about the dynamic. And I appreciate that it's not just copy and paste every single time. A lot of times you do have, especially the heroines, the female main characters, having, you know, different personalities and different needs. And so the dynamic is a little bit different. But that love and affection and that mutual respect happens in every single book. And that's my favorite thing, probably. But yeah, it's not just the couple. I love that it is all of our side characters, and that feeling of family, and that, again, just being willing and able to show affection, I think is such a wonderful and healthy thing to have represented. Then I reread Return of the Thief, which is The Queen's Thief number 6 by Megan Whalen Turner. This is the finale, the long-awaited, many decades awaited finale of the Queen's Thief series, and of course, I love it. This is from the viewpoint of a disabled character. We meet him when he's a child, and we know right from the very beginning of the book that this is his history of what happened. So we know that he has lived to adulthood. He is a famous historian, scribe, etc. in their country now, and he's telling you firsthand how this confrontation with this colonizing empire happened. Now, you do have content warnings because, especially at the beginning of the book, the disabled character is treated like an idiot. He's treated like furniture, as less than, very ableist, all of the things that I think are accurate to not only our society, but the society that these characters live in. The only reason he was not killed in infancy and childhood because of his disability was basically out of spite. And so there's a lot with that. So while I do feel like this is an ugly but realistic picture of ableism, especially perhaps in the nobility, but honestly, you put it in 2025, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same, which is a problem, correct? That is something that is a horrible truth about our society and about us as individuals. And, you know, examining your own ableism is something that you need to do all of the time, I feel like, because our systems, our society, our media, it's all so ableist. You have to work so hard to unlearn those things. Like, you should be, and you're still not going to get it right every single time, but you should be working on that, because if you don't, I don't feel like there's any way you cannot be ableist to the extreme because of how bad it is. That's just a side note, but the finale of this book is well worth the wait. You do have a little bit less character moments because it is the finale, it's the final battle, it's the final conflict, it's the resolution of everything that we've been working up to. And because of that, the final books in series are pretty much never my favorite because I'm not as interested in that huge macro plot as I am in my little character moments. But obviously it is necessary, it's required, and it was done so well. Then I read the final 2 spin-off volumes of Something's Wrong with Us. I gave these 2 stars and 4 stars respectively. So the next to last one, we're doing family toxic relationships again, and I was just so sick of it. By the time that we were at volume 18, I was like, I cannot believe we're starting another one. But volume 19, the finale, you do get, you know, everything kind of wrapped up and everything taken care of. I still have my squabbles with the resolution of the plot, but I would still recommend this dark romantic thriller manga series. Then I DNF'd another romantasy. Then I read Wooing the Witch Queen, Queens of Villainy #1 by Stephanie Burgess. This was an arc from NetGalley, although it is already published now. I gave this 4 stars. This is a sweet, cozy, villains are the kindest people you've ever actually met romantasy. He's the Archduke, but he has been completely controlled and abused by his guardian / father-in-law. His wife has passed away and he has been mired in his grief, although she was just his friend. It was an arranged marriage, but she was his friend and they knew the truth about each other and they protected each other. And he's been mired in his grief, and he realizes that his father-in-law is going to use his grief as a convenient way to kill him, and no one will be surprised that he is no longer with us. So he ends up escaping. He goes to the Witch Queen, who's the only person who has successfully withstood the might of the army of his father-in-law, technically his army, but he's never had any control over it. He goes to her, she thinks he's a dark magician, and so he hides out in her castle library, and they fall in love. And it's all very sweet and cozy. Like I said, the villains are the best people you've ever met, so if you're really going for like morally gray characters, I would not call them that. But it was cute. If you're in the mood for it, it was well done. I enjoyed it. Then I DNF'd another romantasy. Then I read Convergence, which is Intersolar Union #1 by Etta Pierce. I gave this 4 stars. This was a recommendation from the Archives of Gina on Instagram. This is a human behavioralist, and she is kidnapped by a special military commander in order to help him on an undercover mission to get all of these trafficked humans who have been kidnapped and forced into the sex trade. He needs her help to pose as a frequent customer for that. But unfortunately, because humans don't know about aliens, once you know about aliens, you can't go back home. So, you know, she can never go back to Earth, and neither can any of the other humans. But they are planning on rescuing them, right? And then you have this like kind of sweet slow burn romance. However, it does one of my least favorite things where he is like mating with her and he wants her to have choice. He doesn't want her to just do it for his sake. And so he's not willing to communicate to her what's happening. So he's hiding what's happening and pushing her away. When, in my opinion, giving someone the choice of something is giving them the information. You can't be giving them a choice if you're withholding all the information from them. That really, really frustrates me when that happens. So that was my main issue with this book. I liked everything else about it. That's a trope I really dislike, and I still liked the book, so I will give credit to the author for that. The next book is a continuation of these 2 characters, and then the rest of the books in the series are interconnected standalones. I do plan on continuing it. Then I DNF'd an alien romance. Then, finally, for my final book of February, I read We Hunt the Flame, which is Sands of Arawaya. Probably wrong. #1 by Halza Faisal. I gave this 4 stars as well. So this took 40% and getting to Act 2 to be invested. The first 40%, a lot of the setup, a lot of this is what's happening in these characters' lives and their situation and their motivation and all of that. And all of that is good, but I for sure feel like it could have been shortened significantly, and I still would have understood these characters, their motivations, all of that. So didn't love that. This is dual POV. Our female main character is a hunter, and in her territory, the caliphate, the ruler, is very misogynistic, so women don't really have any rights, and so she has disguised herself as a boy, and she is able to go into this haunted forest and come out, and she's the only one who can, so she is hunting to feed her village and the other people around her. Then our male main character is the prince. He is the son of the sultan, who's the guy over the caliphates, and his father is very abusive, and he is an assassin, and he is there to kill anyone who stands against his father, basically, despite hating his father himself. And you have torture with a hot poker, you have a tongue that is cut out, and you have a lot of grief for your content warnings. They meet when the hunter is going to be sent on a quest to find a object that can restore magic to their land, and the assassin's job is to kill the hunter once they've found the object. And there ends up being a whole group of them that are on this quest that are, you know, fighting against these mythological creatures, all of this stuff. And I liked it. It's a duology. I don't care enough to read book 2. So that tells you that. Nothing in the reveals was particularly surprising to me, which is not a requirement for me to enjoy a fantasy book, right? I don't mind if it's a trope I've seen before and I love it and I'm glad that we're here. This is where we are and I'm excited about it. But it didn't really do anything for me. But it was good. It was good. So it gets 4 stars. I enjoyed large chunks of it. But yeah, I don't really get the hype, to be completely 100% honest with you. I don't really get the hype. I don't know. I don't know. It was fine. It was fine, okay? So that's it. That's all of the books that I read in February. Let me give you some breakdowns and some stats. Of the 13 books that I finished, 5 of them were BIPOC authors / characters, but has to be authors for me to count it. 2 of the books had queer main characters, and 1 of the books had a disabled character. 1 of the queer books was also BIPOC, so you had overlap there. Of my 7 DNFs, 2 were by repeat authors, and then of the additional 5 from the Try a Chapter challenge, 2 were by repeat authors, so the rest were new to me authors. Of the finished books, I had 7 repeat authors and 3 new to me authors, and 6 of the DNFs were new to me authors. So as usual, most of the new to me authors do end up being DNFs pretty much every single month. Then I have my reading tracker and my February goals. I had a goal to read 5 Black authors. That did happen if you include my DNFs. I kind of wanted that to happen outside of my DNFs, but I really try not to punish myself for my DNFs, right? I think that DNFing is good, is healthy, is something that really helps my reading. So I'm never trying to punish myself or to say I didn't meet my goal because I picked it up and DNF'd it. I still picked it up. So while I would have liked 5 finished books by Black authors, I did pick up 5 books by Black authors, and that has to count for something. I finished The Queen's Thief read-along. I did participate in Jonte's Inferno and Romanticy-a-thon readathons. I did film my Do or Die vlog. Thank God. Got that done. I attempted to read every day. Once it failed, I did slip a bit. But I did try, and I did try to read fantasy romance. Ultimately, I didn't have any 5-star fantasy romances. I didn't get any new favorites, which was kind of the goal. I won't even lie to you. That was kind of the goal, and that did not happen. Yeah. So I did hit my diversity goals, but overall, my February reading felt very meh. Very, very meh. And I would like for March to be better. So honestly, my goal for March is to just mood read and hopefully just have a good reading month. That's literally it. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have read or want to read any of these, or if you have any recommendations for me based on the books that I loved. And yeah, glad you're here. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.